How you going? Welcome, Duckman TV here. We're here today with Arlene Blencowe, better known as Angerfist. How you going, Arlene?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for pronouncing my surname right. I always get Blencowe or Blencowe, so yeah, it's nice when it's pronounced properly.
Yeah, I had a good stab. I was looking at it and trying to watch a bit of background stuff. I went, it'll be Blencowe for sure. So I'm very happy with that. So how and when did you get into boxing? It's not your conventional sport for a girl to take up.
Yeah, it's going on 12 years now, back before the London Olympics. I remember driving along and hearing on the radio that boxing was introduced into the London Olympics for females. And it was just something I thought I'd just want to get in and pursue, and the story goes from there. So walked into my first gym and started boxing.
That's a bit of a late start for like people in boxing. I knew people at school that did boxing and that, and they got in around about the 10 to 13 year age group. So how old were you when you kicked off?
Yeah, I was 26, so mother of two, and it's funny now looking back at it, because obviously at 26 you think your life's already headed in the direction that it's meant to, but mine literally took a complete detour, went the opposite way. So 26 is definitely late to start any sport. And I mean, obviously having kids of my own now, and more so my son sort of starting, playing soccer. He started at 8 years old, and he's sort of pursued it from there. So definitely fast-tracked the years to sort of get to where I am now. And I guess at 37 years old I'm at the international level, and going fight to fight now.
So did you ever do any sort of combat sports or anything before that at all, even at like a sort of amateur level or anything?
I was always super athletic at school. Athletics was my sport, and basically from there, any sport that I did I was pretty good at, and very much similar to both my kids. I've just always been, I guess, had that competitive edge, like would just want to keep practicing something until I was good at it, or was most of the time naturally good at something. But at an early age, I remember walking into my first boxing gym, and I never pursued it though, but it was always an interest. I loved watching the Rocky movies and Bruce Lee movies and everything like that. And obviously growing up watching Mark Hunt and John Wayne Parr fighting, they were both the two guys that probably actually planted the seed. I remember watching their fights. And then, like I said, 26 years old, started, and now I'm building my legacy.
So I'm assuming you watched Mark Hunt's fight against Bigfoot Silver, the first one that was in Melbourne or Brisbane, I can't remember, but it was an absolute war. 5 rounds, destroyed each other. It was massive. Yeah,
no, well, back in his K1 days is when I used to enjoy watching him the most, because he's big KOs and just the walk-off, like the absolute, like obviously being a fighter now and just knowing, obviously I've laid my hands on opponents, but just to have that confidence that was a knockout punch to turn your back and walk off, it's pretty cool.
It's up there with the best. It's not nearly as big as like Rampage when he picked people up and just drop them on their back, and they're done. Once you do that, they're gone. So
no, I know firsthand that experience. I've won a fight doing something similar back in it was 2018. So
what fight was that one? I'll have a look at that one on YouTube.
That was against Amber Librock on Bellator. It was interesting. It was a little bit of a, not a scuffle, but the face-off was a little bit intense. So to obviously get the win by slamming her on her head was definitely rewarding, but also a little bit confronting, because watching it back, I remember being out in the change rooms after that fight, and it was sort of hitting me, thinking like, I could have potentially seriously hurt my opponent. Obviously, while you're in the moment, you want to inflict as much, pain and, on your opponent. But I'd never want to do anything that was seriously harm anyone. So, it took a few minutes just to sort of bring myself back down and, be grateful that I didn't seriously hurt her.
And it could always happen to you as well. Like you get in a moment, you're always exposing yourself to being able to be taken down, because it's what pretty much is giving you the win and strike or finish at the end.
Yeah, well, that's it. I spend a lot of time in this sport training, a lot of commitment and stuff, but at the end of the day, it is a very dangerous sport, and anything can happen in there, and for that reason, that's why I am, I'm always wearing, I don't have it on now because I've taken off for training, but I do wear a cross all the time. Before I step onto the mats in all my training sessions, before I step into the ring or cage, every time, even training and competition, I take a short moment to pray, because yeah, it is a dangerous sport, and the last thing I'd want is, for myself or my opponent or my training partners to ever be injured.
That's one thing I noticed about the whole fight game. Like 99% of it is very respectful, and you're going out there, it's a war against each other, but they genuinely care and have concern for their opponents in the fight afterwards and all that sort of stuff, and they wish the genuine well-being for them as well.
For sure, and that comes down to martial arts and I guess all the attributes that you learn from being a martial artist. Like, it is a respectful sport, and and you're right, 99% of people are like that. You do get your occasional idiots, but for the most part, I've got mutual respect for anyone that I've stepped into the cage with, and the same goes. We've both trained. We've put our bodies on the line, and when you've gone to war with someone, which I have had some wars with some of my opponents, it's we all sort of sit back and have a bit of a joke about it, and there is that mutual respect, and I guess a friendship too. What I'm doing as a female is different to, it is out of the norm, and when that's why I am such a big advocate for supporting other females in this sport, and I'm never one to have negative comments or bitchy comments or anything like that about another female, because we are in a sport that's predominantly for males. We are paving the way now though, and so we've got to support one another.
So I had a look at your boxing record. It's a very esteemed boxing record. You've got 2 world championships in the Women's International Boxing Association light welterweight division. What weight class is that? What does that come in at?
So light welterweight 63.5 and welterweight 66. So light welterweight's actually a really good weight for me. Unfortunately, there isn't one in MMA, so that's why I fight at 66. And the promotion that I fight for, Bellator, only has 66. The UFC have 61. Otherwise, I'd probably walk around and fight at the 61 kilo weight division. And the other one you got is the WBF featherweight championship as well. Welterweight. So what that was? 66. 66. Yeah. So how many fighters are dropping into those weight categories? So it's obviously people are trying to drop weight to get down to the lowest category they can. There are a lot of girls in the boxing, like the boxing world, that light welterweight is a fairly common weight division. Like I said, that's a weight division that I'm comfortable fighting at. So hopefully this year you'll see me back in the boxing ring and fighting at the light welterweight.
How come you don't see too many girls floating around in like heavyweight, super heavyweight? Like they really pronounce that for the men's, but is that even really a category or division for women's, or not really? Because I guess Gabby Garcia is probably the biggest girl that's actively competing. There are some bigger girls in the jiu-jitsu scene, but I think it is quite a heavyweight division for females, and females aren't, I guess, generally built as big as that. And I guess the ladies that are, aren't competing like in sports and stuff like that. So it does. I even know within myself, as soon as I've put a few kilos on it, it's a lot harder to sort of get going and moving. So could only imagine at those heavier weights how much harder it is. And the same goes with guys. You look at the difference between a bantamweight, featherweight fighter, how quick they move, they're agile, and then you look at the heavyweights, they're a lot slower, and I guess just because it takes a lot of effort for them to get going. So I guess maybe over the years, like the coming years, you'll see more and more females and the heavier weight divisions coming in. Hopefully it does open up and give the opportunities for the bigger girls that do compete. So even on the odd occasion thought, I could give it a crack myself. Then you start looking at, who'd be fighting super heavyweight? Brock Lesnar, George Foreman, Mike Tyson. Let's not. So I like my head.
That's the thing with the heavier weights, because comes the heavier weights is the bigger punches, and you don't want to be on the receiving end of one of those. Sorry,
probably want to try to cut down your weight. So what do you do to prepare for a fight, and how long does it take you to prepare for your fights?
I like to give a solid 8 to 10 week fight camp. Usually 8 weeks is probably a good mark. 10 weeks out's like more so to mentally prepare and bring myself back into it. Like I've been training now since the 1st of January. Getting prepared sort of like for an announcement, which will hopefully come in the coming weeks. So then from there I'll just be able to hopefully switch on straight away. So generally it's 6 to 8 weeks of hard out preparation, and then I sort of train all year round though, just generally to keep going, because like even today it's Sunday, but I'm on the mats today, and there's a lot of stuff that you can learn outside of fight camp. So instead of cramming it all into like a 2-month fight camp when you're preparing for an opponent, it's outside of fight camp that you make the most growth and learn as much as you can. And that's where the fun is too. Like, I enjoy training outside of fight camp without the pressures of a fight.
So is it more interesting doing the MMA, like from a training point of view, because you got to work on a lot of different angles and perspectives as compared to boxing? Like, you got very rounded game, you know what you got to bring, so you got to work on other disciplines as well. That would make it more interesting, wouldn't it?
For sure. I always feel like I'm learning. That's the beauty of MMA, but it can also become stressful because sometimes it feels like there's just not enough time in the training week to become a master of every discipline. Like I'm trying to spend paying more time and attention on like my grappling and ground game, but then like it takes away from my time with my striking. So yeah, it's constant like battle between like where you want to spend all your time and obviously not overtrain as well. But still have a massive respect for boxing because that's just, you need to spend just as much time in that discipline too. Like it's a craft in itself, and it's not just a matter of simply throwing punches. It's and it's the very reason why up until recently I decided to focus just primarily on the one discipline rather than go between boxing and MMA. But this year I think I'm ready to definitely do both.
Yeah. I wouldn't saw Ronda Rousey when she was a champion for a long time. She got lucky. I wouldn't say she got lucky. She was well versed and very strong grappling and ground game, so she get everyone on the ground to do that. And as soon as Holly Holmes got to stand up fighting, that sort of unbrought what she did. So that's definitely something you would need to be working on all the areas. Otherwise, you'll get brought undone by someone that's a kickboxer or someone that does BJJ and stuff like that.
For sure. At the end of the day, everyone's beatable, and it was only a matter of time. Ronda, paved the way for females within this sport. But, the more fights she had, the more content people had to be able to study her. And yeah, it was only a matter of time before somebody fought the right fight. Obviously, Jackson Wink, Holly's coaches there, studied Ronda and came up with the right fight plan. And yeah, Holly executed it perfectly. And it goes the same goes with every other fighter. There's a lot of undefeated fighters getting around at the moment, but they are beatable, and it's just a matter of getting the right fighter to come along and execute the plan.
So what I wondered about with the whole fighting and the scale moving up and down and that stuff through rankings, how does that work? Like with boxing and MMA, are they slightly different? Because you can go from being in your infancy and start and have a few fights, and if you're in the right weight division you can push up for different title fights and that quite quickly, and other places you've got to climb the ladder a lot more and get more wins and stuff.
I know that as a female with me too, I know I climbed the ranks pretty quickly in MMA. It was only I think my first 2 years I was inside the top 10, and I've stayed there ever since. So I'm ranked number 5 in the world for MMA at the moment. I have dropped since my last fight. There's more girls coming in too. Boxing, because I won my world titles pretty quickly in my career, I think it was only my 3rd boxing fight, I was up at championship status, and then, over the years I sort of dropped down. I'm not in the rankings at the moment because I haven't boxed for a while, but I'm not too sure how the boxing rankings really work, but I think once I get back onto the scene, I should be back in, because obviously being a former champion and stuff like that too, and it's just a matter of obviously having your manager work their magic in getting the right opponents and fights, and if you beat the right person, then you get up in the rankings, and it's a matter of fighting the ranked fighters. So
I see there's a lot of talk about it at the moment in boxing, particularly we've got rugby league players coming in to do boxing. There's a lot of boxers been around for a long time. They're upset with professional fighters might fight for 5,000, 10,000 a fight normally, and you get these football players who really haven't had to cut their teeth for anything, but they've got a public reputation. They're like 500, 600,000. Do you think that's like a bit of a disproportionate scale for the skill that there is, or?
I definitely understand where the boxers are coming from there, and the same goes with being a female fighter, and you get these females that come in who are have the looks and the following and this and that, and they get opportunities. But I'm not one to sort of sit there and have a negative opinion on either situation, because I think if I was in any of those people's positions and having those opportunities, then I would be taking it for what I could do. These football players have obviously built their careers up, put themselves in positions to allow for that. They've built their names up. They've like I said, put themselves into the position, the opportunities to get that, and good on them. Maybe the boxers need to work a bit more on, marketing themselves better, or sometimes I think you need to look closer to home rather than hating on what other people are doing. Look at your own situation and think, okay, what can I do now to, get myself those opportunities and whatnot. So, like I said, I'm not one to have a negative opinion on anyone else's careers. I think good on them, and I focus on what I can do.
He had the fight last October for was it welterweight or featherweight against Chris Cyborg? Yeah, featherweight. And unfortunate in that he lost by a decision. What's your plan there? You got any rematches penned in? I saw you sign a new contract on the back of that with Bellator for a few fights.
I just signed a 4-fight contract with them again, so this will be my 4th contract going with Bellator. Definitely, Cyborg's someone that a lot of people have dodged over the years, and haven't not wanted to fight her, and it's only really been recently when she lost to Amanda Nunes that people are now ready to put their hand up and go like, oh, I want to fight her, because they see that she's beatable. Like before that, she was just destroying everybody. But I've been saying it for years. That fight was a fight that I've wanted my whole career, and definitely didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but it's a fight game. At the end of the day, someone wins and someone loses, and unfortunately I was the person that lost. But looking at the fight, I learned so much about myself, in a fight that was massive and where a lot of people probably, would have been scared or crumbled or whatnot. I was actually feeling really, really good being in there. It was just a few technical things that I didn't execute properly. Moving forward, taking that into my next fights with girls that are obviously, ranked a lot lower than her. I'm actually really, really excited to get in there and walk through my next few opponents and get back to the opportunity of fighting for the title and
I was surprised. I watched the fight earlier today. Just watched most. I didn't watch the whole thing, and I just saw. I didn't realise before I watched some of her other fights previously. She's just taken out a lot of front leg kicks on you in that fight in particular. Normally she likes to do ground and pound, get them on the ground, and will basically obliterate people on the deck.
I was pretty lucky to have her coach message me after it, and obviously Chris talked to me after it and message as well. They showed me a lot of respect, obviously my boxing game and, the fact that I had pretty solid hands. So they took our camp pretty seriously, and again, it comes down to having the right coaches that, set up a game plan, and obviously they saw that I was, pretty heavy on my front foot coming from a boxing background, and unfortunately, my whole fight camp, we'd been working on me doing the same thing, hitting that front leg and this and that, but I just needed to switch on a little bit more, from the bell, but there's no point in dwelling on it. You should take the things the positives out of it, which I always do out of every training session, every fight. 3 positives that you can take from it, and then the 3 main things that you need to learn from. So I've done that. The fights in the past. Now I focus on what's forward.
Well, the fight went 14.5 minutes, so you didn't roll over and get smoked. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. Oh, it kind of felt like it. I did. In the end, I guess I did roll over and gave up my back, but that's why I'm here on the mats now, so that I never lose another fight, and hopefully win a fight by submission myself. So
you haven't done that yet, haven't?
Oh, I did get a submission, a triangle win in my early days, but that was here on the local scene when it's kind of even playing field. But now when you're over on the international scene, it's just a matter of having the confidence to take those risks. So for me, I don't feel like I ever step away from my strengths, which is obviously my hands. Now it's just these next few weeks in training. It's just about, for me to, have that confidence to let my kicks go, back my wrestling, back the ground game, because it's all there. I practice in training very, very hard, and I've got the whole complete package, but I feel like all I've shown everybody at the moment is that I've got good hands. So, yeah.
So do you try to look for a heavy game and a heavy finish, or you try to look for arm bars and that sort of stuff when they're there and take them, blind naked chokes and stuff?
Yeah, well, at this stage, all I've ever done is really just let my hands go. So I would never give up a position to go for a submission. I would just have that position and go for the strikes, and I guess that's why they call me Angerfist. But and at the end of the day, I guess crowds always love seeing punches. It's funny because unless you're into the sport and really understand the wrestling component or the ground game, a lot of the crowd find that really boring. But when they see, especially two girls throwing punches, they love it. So, I want to entertain the crowd too, but at the end of the day, all I want to do is win. So,
I have to say, I watched the fight at Penrith RSL one night between two girls. One of them had dresser went over her head, and the other one went flying over a table, and here we go. It was one that made it more interesting.
Yeah.
So, at the moment, you've got some records here in Bellator. You got like the number of wins in female history here in featherweight, 9 here with Julia Budd, and the most knockouts as well, 3 sitting with Julia Budd too. And you fought Julia Budd, and unfortunately you lost to her. That's a pretty good record to hold against someone that's like an esteemed fighter, because she's right up there as well, along with Chris Cyborg.
Yeah, that's it. She's been around for years, and I'm actually really, really excited to fight her again. Because it was a split decision loss with her for the Bellator World Title, and looking at what I was doing for my training back then, as like compared to what I do right now, I just think that a rematch would be really, really cool. But yeah, I also hold another record for Bellator as well.
What's that other record?
The fastest female finish.
Saw that, 14 seconds or 22 seconds, yeah.
So hopefully I'll hold that one for a while.
Yeah, I watched that fight as well. You got in, hooked in, and then started laying into the chick. She was just gone. Once you got her into the cage, that was it. So
yeah, it's funny because I wasn't looking for a knockout there either. Fighting that night was probably the last thing on my mind. I was just not feeling being in that cage, and then as soon as the bell went and she threw that first punch, and then I reacted, and then she went down, and I was like, oh, and then jumped on her, and it was over. So I was,
Is it a weird feeling fighting at the moment? So I watched your fight, had Chris Cyborg, and there's just no one in the crowd. Like, I don't know if there was like actually no one. There just looked like there was no one in the crowd, and that must be like a weird feeling. So some of the footballers say they feel weird like that, playing in front of empty or bare empty stadiums, and they struggle to get up for motivation and stuff.
Yeah, no, I to be honest, and this is what I was only talking about this today, there was like the ops team, the Bellator ops team, like, the cameraman and all the people that help out behind the scenes, but for the most part, like, I'm fighting in America, so it's not like I'm fighting, down the local band club or anything like that, where I've got, hundreds of people supporting me, and, the crowd screaming my name or whatever. So I've always had good, no one's ever booed me or carried on, but for the most part, the girls that I've fought, the crowd's supporting them. So, there'll be little comments in the thing like, oh, she's hurt, or she's tired, or, that one was good, or like that punch was good. So just little comments that I hear along the way, but obviously without the crowd, I didn't hear any of that. So, and I could just hear my corner. To be honest, it really wasn't any different for me. The walkout was probably initially a little bit different, because you're sort of walking out, and like I walk out with the flag and whatever, and it's like, okay, well, no one's really, it seems a bit silly, but then obviously the cameraman's right there and everyone back home is watching it and that. But I always said, like, at the end of the day, I'm not there to fight for the crowds, I'm there to fight like, the person standing in front of me. So I think it would have affected her more than me, because she's used to fighting in front of big crowds and having a fan base and stuff like that. So I always know that my fan base is like, watching from home.
Always enjoyed when I was playing sport, and knew if you were doing a good job if the opposition were giving it to you and their crowd. So that motivated me more sometimes than playing in front of own people. So I'm sure that works for you too. So I've asked you about the fight system, Bear. So you've done a lot of fighting in MMA in different companies. Do all the different companies help lead up to like your rankings and that with Bellator and everything like that?
Well, they do, yeah. So before I got signed to Bellator, I fought here on the local scene in Australia. So, fight cards like Storm Damage, AFC I fought on, Fight World Cup in Queensland. Did I fight on Eternal? Yeah, so the local fight cards that were on Nitro back when it was there's a few shows that were around, and then they're no longer around. But yeah, my first MMA fight was a professional MMA fight, because I was already a professional boxer. So it automatically counted in the rankings, and obviously because I was quite active, and then I think I was already ranked inside the top 10 before I even signed to Bellator, even with a record that wasn't crash hot. But like I said, I've been doing this for 7 years now. We were in the Ronda Rousey era where there wasn't that many girls fighting, and especially the featherweights. So yeah, I was sort of catapulted into the rankings, and I've stayed there ever since. So there's been more and more girls that keep coming in, and new faces, and you fight them, and yeah, I just keep stamping my authority on where I belong.
Do you follow any of the Australian girls fighting at the moment? You got Shotgun, Shannon O'Connell.
Yep.
She's up at Springwood, I think, and she's holding world titles at the moment in boxing. And you got Megan Anderson's fighting UFC and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, no. Like I said before, like I'm a big advocate of supporting other females. Shannon O'Connell and I were on the amateur boxing scene together. She was in the Queensland team. I was in the New South Wales team. Different weight divisions. But yeah, I mean, we were both, mothers of kids, our kids, and so I feel like there's always that mutual. It's obviously hard to be a female in this sport as it is, but when you're juggling being a mum, working, so I've always got big admiration for other females that are doing that as well. So we understand what it's like for us to get to the gym each day. It's not just a matter of packing a gym bag and going. We've got to worry about our kids and what they're doing and making sure that they might have sport on and just the juggling act of it all. So we're of similar age too. She's an amazing boxer, very, very talented. Megan Anderson and I are both featherweight, so we're in the same weight division. We've never fought, but again, we started, we've done training sessions together back before she moved overseas, and we've done our separate thing in different organisations, but just paved the way for these other girls coming through, and she's still got many, many years ahead of her, and she's obviously fighting for the UFC title next month, and wish her all the luck, and you'll see her.
So what stops the sports like MMA and that from having an overall weight division champion across all companies and stuff like that? Because I suppose boxing's the same, so we've got WBC, WBA, IBF and all that. But they try to stop it all the time because it doesn't look good for the companies. That doesn't really happen much in MMA.
Yeah, well, I guess the closest thing to it now is obviously when you've got champions that leave a promotion and go to the other promotion. So just recently, one of the Bellator former champions went over to the UFC, Michael Chandler, and obviously had his debut and had a first round KO of his opponent. But yeah, there's always that competition of which champion's better, if this champion versus that champion. But yeah, I guess it comes down to, it's never really going to happen because the presidents of each of the championships aren't going to let a cross promotion happen to sort of see who the overall is. But you kind of know within the divisions, you've got Chris Cyborg was obviously the featherweight the featherweight champion. She's won all the titles across the board, but then she was beaten by Amanda, so now Amanda's kind of got that status. But yeah, we know within our divisions who the sort of the top girls are.
Yeah. Well, Amanda Nunes has been up and around there for a long time too in UFC, and now she's gone through Bellator as well, hasn't she? Yeah, well,
she Strike Force she was at. She's. It's interesting because she's not undefeated. Julia Budd's beaten her back in the day, and the girls have all sort of fought and stuff like that. So, but yeah, she's a definite beast, and what she did to Cyborg was definitely a statement. Yeah.
So combat sport it's a brutal sport. The MMA, boxing, kickboxing, any of that all together, and people don't last in it for a long time. So what's your long-term plans for the sport? You got four more fights teed up with Bellator, and you're talking about on Instagram and that about looking at coming back to boxing. Yeah. Is that a realistic thing you're looking at?
Yeah. This year's going to be a really, really big year. I actually quit my full-time job at the end of last year, which was an interesting move considering that we're global pandemic and there's so I was sort of between minds, and I'm grateful that my partner's super supportive too. But I've spent the last 12 years building myself up to this position, and that fight with Chris was financially rewarding for me as well. Obviously I didn't win, but it put me in a position to be able to focus on my fighting. I'm still, other avenues of income at the moment on the side, but for the most part, my full-time job's been, I've quit from that, so I can focus more on, my fighting this year and give it a good. It probably will be longer, but give this year a really good hard run, and then sit back at the, this time next year and reevaluate and see where we're at. There's things on the personal front that, like my partner and I want to sort of. do as well. So yeah, we'll see what this year has. I've got 4 more fights with Bellator, which is actually on an 18-month contract. I want to have boxing fights. But yeah, the other day, like I said, my record at the moment is 13 wins, and I want to take that up to 20 wins. So that's actually another 7 more fights, 7 more wins.
So that could be 2 more years, 2-3 years.
And that's, not taking any more losses. But yeah, they're all little personal goals, but at the moment I'm just sort of taking it, week by week and just enjoying it. I've got all these plans, but I'm the first person to know that, things don't always go your way. So at the moment I've got training goals that I'm working on, and one of the big ones is here being on the mats. I'm still actually a white belt for BJJ, so I want to get graded. I definitely want to get my blue belt, this year and work on that and enjoy. I've always enjoyed what I do, but stop looking at the bigger things. So obviously, big picture is to get myself back to that world title fight, but just little steps along the way.
So how long do you generally have in between your fights? So if you roll out of a win, you don't get too knocked around, what would be the shortest period of time you'd go from one to the next?
It's a hard one, really, because usually I'll probably have 2 Bellator fights a year, because for them too, with the promotion, it's a big thing flying me and my team over to America, and even more so now with COVID. They fly us over there. Flights are a little bit more expensive. We get put up in accommodation over there. Then we had to stay extra time. Then they come back and then they cover the costs for the hotel quarantine. So it's quite an expense to the organisation to get us over there. But generally 2 fights a year. So that's why I'm trying to pick up obviously some boxing fights too. But this year I'd really like to have 2 MMA fights and 2 boxing fights. And we're already in February, so hopefully I'll get an announcement pretty soon. I'm sort of mentally preparing for the end of March, maybe early April. For an MMA fight, and if all goes to plan, within 6 weeks of that, getting straight into the boxing ring, and then seeing if I need to have maybe a couple of weeks rest, and then start, because it's one thing training that elite level at high maximum rate, and obviously being mentally switched on too, it is quite draining, but I'm ready to have a big year, so I'm just keen to get it done.
You ever thought about going into WWE when you get to the end of it all and cash in on the big money and big fans and that stuff? Get your own action figures? It's
interesting. This is the thing. I'm 38 in a couple of months. So if I was 10 years younger, and I don't know, I've never really used if I was marketed myself a little bit more, I push myself as a soccer mum. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm the Ronda Rousey or anything like that. I'm happy with the path that I'm doing at the moment. I want to get the world titles and build my legacy and build up the things that I want to do outside of fighting too. It's not all about the fame and all of that sort of stuff, and even money. As long as I'm just comfortable and my kids are sort of set up and that's all I need. I don't need to be Conor McGregor or I'm not in it for the millions. Obviously I wouldn't turn it down if they ever came, but I think there's more to life than the money side of it, and I'm glad that I am looking at it like that.
So do you ever get a bit of rage when you go on the soccer in the car park off mum's move your car or you're going to have problems and all that sort of stuff?
Funny enough, the more I've been fighting, or the longer I've been fighting, the more tamer and calm that I'm becoming. I guess that's probably maturity and the older I get, but I don't tend to lose my cool too much. I was a bit of a hothead when I first started fighting, and that's probably what got me into it, because don't get me wrong, I do love violence and that's why I fight, but for the most part I am a pretty calm, controlled sort of person.
That's good. So who is your biggest influence and who's your coach in MMA? Do you have a different coach now than what you had in boxing, or same person that rolled through with you?
I've had a lot. Like I said, I've been in this for 12 years now. I've moved towns a few times, but I've had different coaches and mentors and people help me along the way. But I'm down here in Penrith at the moment. Up until recently, I had James Tahuna in my corner coaching me as my head coach. He's not coaching anymore, but we're actually mentoring together. So that's what we're sort of doing on the side. But a big influence for me would definitely be Tyson Pedro. He actually came over for my title fight. He wouldn't be my head coach, but he's definitely a head influence. Huge respect for him and his family. His dad, any time his dad's with me, he'll pull me to the side and he'll give me some little bit of a golden nugget of like wisdom that I can take with me. But I've got like different coaches for different things. So like my wrestling coach is Avatar Desi. He's been on board for years now. Super like grateful for him with just his, even especially through the COVID period too. Like he was coming around to my house and we'd have the mats down. He'd make sure that like he was, and he's had my back for many years. Strength and conditioning coach Mia Orney at Ethos Performance. Another guy that I'm super grateful to. He's been on board now for a few years, but he oversees everything. He's the guy that makes sure that I'm not overtraining, and he's definitely made my camp more professional. I'm actually doing a lot of my training now down at Wollongong at Freestyle with Joe Lopez, which is Alex Volkanovski's coach. So I've sort of just moved in with them guys, made myself part of their family, whether or not they like it or not. No, they do. But yeah, huge. Alex is probably another guy. Like I love his style of fighting. So I mean, he's the UFC featherweight champion, and but yeah, just the way he fights. I mean, if I could mirror any fighter, it probably would be him. Yeah, and he's just like the whole group down there. They're just awesome guys. Here now, I'm Sydney West BJJ martial arts. Sorry, Sydney West martial arts. But I do my BJJ here under Luke Martin, and another guy. He's just passionate about his sport, and again, like his curriculum, like he's got a focus to every session, every week, every month, and I've been coming here for years, but this year's the first time I've actually solid commitment week in, week out, and seeing the difference. And again, it's just because I guess time. I'm not working full time anymore, so I do have more time up my sleeve to be able to be here and commit. And this is one of the areas that I want to commit and improve on. So it's not a matter of just being defensive on the ground now. I want to be offensive, and I want to showcase some stuff next fight.
James Tahuna and Tyson Pedro are different style fighters too. Tyson's still fighting, isn't he, at the moment?
Yeah. So he will see his coming off knee surgery, so we'll see his return hopefully later on in the year. Yeah. But I would say Tyson's a black belt on the ground, and he's probably like a true martial artist. Like he puts everything together. Jamie was obviously known for having some solid hands, and he was a pioneer. Like this is the thing. Jamie, I call him Jamie, everyone else calls him James, but he paved the way. Like I remember, here's the reason I was sort of coming down here and started training at Beastings like years ago, was he was a UFC fighter, and I've sort of just been in that circle with all these guys now for the past 5-6 years. But it's funny because I remember the first time I walked into the gym, I was so nervous and I couldn't even speak to him. And then, fast forward all these years, he's my coach. We've done countless hours together. We've travelled overseas together. And, like I said, we're mentoring together, and like he's a friend. So it's pretty cool. I get to rub shoulders with some really, really cool people. And, I guess I have become one of those really cool people. But at the end of the day, I'm just me. So, yeah.
You ever watch him and his brother get it on? Do they, crack it ever and start throwing each other through the kitchen and stuff?
I could imagine there's been times that they have. No, so Tama was obviously the owner of Beastings years ago, but I've only ever seen the cool and calm, controlled side of both of those. So even Jamie, I haven't even seen him raise his voice. So, but I know that if you piss him off, there's probably you don't want to be on the receiving end. So that's for sure. So,
what's the hardest thing about cutting weight, and have you got any tips for not real athletic people like me anymore on doing it?
I spent a lot of years doing the wrong thing. I've got professionals on board now, so even like Geordie from the Fight Dietitian, he oversaw my whole weight cut and last fight camp, so it was the first time I've had him on board. He looks after like all the top level UFC fighters, and anyone that's sort of importance in the scene, like he's involved with them, and I can see why, because he is another guy that's passionate about his job, and he does things safely too. Like there's a lot of people that, especially in the boxing world, are very old school and don't cut weight safely, and it's and as a female too, it can be very, very dangerous. I am not one to give advice. I feel like before I would give advice on how to cut weight. Obviously, it comes down to you need a professional on board to obviously look at everything about you. like I could give you a basic outline, but yeah, it comes down to like obviously what you put in your mouth. You got to eat well, you know, drink enough water and exercise. But yeah, when it comes to cutting weight, there's safe protocol and definitely get professionals on board.
You wouldn't recommend the 10 cinnamon donuts I had the other day and 5 pieces of KFC and stuff for helping you?
No. But in saying that, yeah, it's probably what I need to cut out of my diet at the moment. I've put on a little bit of weight, so.
So what does the future hold for Arlene Blencowe moving forward?
Yeah, a whole lot of wins. I'm getting my hand raised. Yeah, hopefully an announcement in the coming weeks. Bellator are making an announcement on Tuesday, which will hopefully let everyone know where their shows are and what's happening for the schedule. So none of us know at the moment, so we'll hear that on Tuesday, and hopefully, you know, my manager will hear something and I'll be able to make a fight announcement soon, and then I'll train for that, and then just fly the flag high for Australia and get those wins.
You like to go? Can you go to the Olympics? You qualify for that, or?
No, so that dream passed many years ago now. So yeah, like I said, the original goal was for me to represent Australia at the London Olympics. I missed out on that, making the Australian team. I was lucky enough to make, do a trip to China with the Australian girls. I won gold at Arafura Games. I represented New South Wales a few times. I felt like I did what I wanted to do as an amateur. But yeah, I definitely knew I didn't want to hang around on the amateur scene for the 2016 Rio Games. So I turned professional, and then won my world titles, and then that same year that's when I started MMA. So my original goal was to represent Australia at the Olympics. You know, change sort of course, and in the end, I am representing Australia on my own terms, sort of thing. You know, flying the flag high, and I'm a proud Australian, and any chance that I can sort of raise a flag and represent Australia, I do. Yeah. So
now you're always been a Riffy girl, or you're just now a Penrith girl?
I moved to Penrith 6 years ago. But yeah, no, I'm pretty much stuck here now. I was. This is the thing. Like I lived on the mid-north coast for years. My kids were in school there, but then, my daughter's down in Wollongong Uni now. My son's got his soccer career here, so he's with Sydney FC. I'm here. I built my foundation. I've built a good team around me and stuff, and the avenues that I'm pursuing, for life after fighting, requires me to be around here, and I like Penrith.
So if anyone wants to follow you, what's the best way to do it?
Instagram, the Aussie Girl Angerfist. My fight name's Angerfist, and like I said, I do promote myself as being Australian, like I'm a proud Australian. So whenever I'm in America, they always call me the Aussie Girl. So I've just gone with it. Facebook, the Aussie Girl Angerfist, Arlene Blencowe.
Sweet as. Thanks a lot for your time, Arlene. We'll run through a little session over here. Hopefully, to show me what you can do to the bags, and maybe not my head. So, thanks a lot. Check this out on Duckman TV. It's going to get uploaded on YouTube later and on Facebook. And watch out for Arlene and good news in the future. Thanks a lot again. Bye.